Hi, I'm Virginia, and welcome to the Health Creators Podcast, where we talk about the impact and business of being a health creator. Here with me today is Dr. Aziza Sesay. Thank you for being here
Hey!
today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor and privilege. Can't wait.
Yeah, thank you so much. I love your work, and I love speaking with you and watching all of the content that you create across all of your platforms. You know, how do you do it? You seem to be everywhere all at once. So
Oh my God, how do I do it? What a question. What a I am still trying to figure it all out. It's a work in progress. Thriving is what I would say is happening right now.
thriving. I love it. So for the audience who are not familiar with who you are and what do you want to explain your background?
Of course. So I am Dr. Aziza Sesay, as Virginia so kindly said. I am a GP. I'm also a host, a speaker, an honorary senior clinical lecturer, and educator. So you can tell that I'm all about education. And so I started a platform almost 4 years ago now called Talks with Dr. Sesay, which is all about health education, advocacy, and empowerment. And I do have a particular emphasis in women's and gynecological health because that's just something that I have a massive passion for, but also on cancer awareness, mental health, and also health inequity. Being a Black woman who unfortunately is a lived in statistic. So health education is really key for me. I've been very, very fortunate to work with loads of organizations. A partner like Virginia with YouTube and YouTube Health, actually, to be specific, YouTube Health. Also NHS, I've done public health awareness with the Department of Health and Social Care, loads of charities I'm ambassador for, Eve Appeal, well-being of women, so on and so forth. I don't want to make the introduction too long, but essentially what I'm trying to say is I am a health content creator, and I just feel like it's time that health becomes proactive rather than reactive because prevention is better than cure.
I love that. I love that. And you do not need to apologize for an extra lengthy introduction. I think it definitely fits your character and how how you just love sharing everything that you know, and you're always campaigning for more awareness. And it's so important that you brought up inequity and having kind of that awareness that you are also part of that group, and it's just not talked about enough, and we don't want that to be the statistic. We need to be campaigning for change like you are, which is amazing. So please, just I want to embrace how amazing you are. No, no apologizing.
Thanks. Right back at you, girl. Right back at you.
Thank you. So why did you start creating health education videos, as you've just mentioned?
Yeah. So basically, I have always been doing community talks, right? Health talks for my local community. And then COVID happened, lockdown happened. It meant that I couldn't do it face to face. And I thought, you know what? Actually, no, that's not what happened. So then during the COVID pandemic, I had a call from my aunt, family friend, and our culture, everyone's an aunt who's older than you, right? So she's a family friend, but I say aunt. And she called really ecstatic. She was excited because finally her blood pressure was normal. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. And she's like, so I decided to stop taking my blood pressure tablets. So I was like, okay, so this is an issue. People don't have the knowledge and the basic knowledge. I need to go back to health educating again. So I then decided to do Zoom talks, right? And I knew that because it was online, it meant anybody can access it from anywhere. So I was having audience from Sierra Leone, which is where I'm originally from. That's my heritage. Saudi Arabia, which is where I grew up. Dubai, the States. Obviously here in the UK, loads of people from all over were watching this, and this was just my way of giving back. So I, spoke about hypertension, diabetes, sickle cell, and so on and so forth. And this was like every couple of weeks I was doing it. And then I got pregnant because during the pandemic, there wasn't really much else to do. Fun-wise. Um, that's just a joke I like to make. But yeah, no, I got pregnant and I really struggled with nausea and vomiting, and it was just not possible to do it anymore. So then I thought, oh, let me just make some short videos. So I literally, my very first reel on Instagram was a video about not stopping your medications. And that did quite well. And honestly, it was just that's what's happened from there. I started the Instagram page to try and reach more people so that they could have access to the talk, because health and I really truly believe health education or health information should be accessible to everybody. That's fair, right? Well, I mean, the internet does help. So, yeah, that's what happened. And then through that, I created more and more reels. I've had reels that have gone viral. And then, I've had all these incredible opportunities. So, that's my story.
Amazing. And so now you've kind of been expanding to other platforms. So you said you kind of started off on Instagram. Where else can people find your work?
Yeah, so I'm Talk to Dr. Sesay on basically all socials. I do post on YouTube. I've started posting more regularly on YouTube more recently because I don't know, for some weird reason, in my mind, I felt like YouTube was, I just needed more. I think a lot of us do this. We are our own biggest obstacles where we feel like, oh my God, I have to have the best gadget, the best equipments, and the script's supposed to be. And to be honest, actually, sometimes I went to some events and I was hearing things like, oh, it took me 5 months to decide on a thumbnail and the script took me a couple of months to write and all of that. And I thought, okay, I definitely need more time before I venture into YouTube. But YouTube, your experience is your experience. I mean, it's helpful to have support and advice from others, but just remember that everyone is different. Is what I often say, and just get out of your head. So finally, I got out of my head, and I'm on YouTube, but I'm also on TikTok, and I repurpose a lot of my content actually through those platforms. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome. So what is your process to create health videos? How do you go from idea to kind of maybe scripting, then filming, then editing and publishing?
Yeah, good question. Because I don't have that stringent process in content making, especially in the beginning. It was all about, I would say a lot of my ideas happen when I'm in the shower. So I'm in the shower and I'm like, oh, this would be an interesting concept, and I also am initially, because it was Instagram and it was Reels, it was trending audio, and I thought, oh, how can I make this different? How can I make it my own? How can I utilize that to capture people's attention? Because you only have a couple of seconds, right, before they scroll, and then make them interested or intrigued by the information, which could potentially save their lives. So, for instance, if I talk about one particular process, and this was one of the first videos that went viral for me, it was a cervical screening video. Because I found that a lot of the times it's that people just didn't know what it entailed. So they made it worse than it was in their minds or from what they've heard, rather than actually seeing the tools and just knowing exactly what would happen when you go for the procedure. So that was my mindset. I was like, okay, it's cervical screening, cervical cancer prevention week. That was in January 2021. And I thought, yeah, I'm gonna make a video, but I want it to be fun. So I'm gonna choose a song that's catchy, and most people like Beyonce. So I thought, is it time already? Okay, time already. It's time to have your cervical smear. So then I thought, okay, that song's gonna work. And then I just filmed little clips of me using the different equipments and all of that, and then filmed the setting of the examination couch and all of that, and just put it together and then put the song together. I don't really dance. I mean, I do sometimes do a little shimmy, but I don't dance on my videos. You don't have to dance to go viral. But I did that, and then I posted the content out there, and it did really well because again, it was just about that visibility. So one thing I often try to consider when I make videos, it's about how to do something or what to expect, or um, myth busting. So I do a lot of myth busting. I'm known for that in a lot of my videos. And again, when I have ideas, it's like, okay, what can I do to make it more watchable. So there's a video that I did about the rumor has it, the rumor has it. I always tend to use songs that are catchy that we all tend to know or we're familiar with. So with the rumor has it one, it was women's health myths, and I basically thought it would be funny to waft the myths out of the screen when she's like, the rumor has it, it's a rumor. So, that's my process with those type of videos. It's just, I want to make it fun. I want to make it something that I would watch myself. And you don't even realize that you're learning, because sometimes it's the song that you like rather than the information, and then you're like, oh, actually I've learned something. And when we talk about, for instance, a cervical screening video, I've had so many DMs from people who've said, oh my god, I finally went, or thank you so much, I had no idea that you could have. Yeah, I showcased this different sizes of speculum. I could ask for a smaller speculum. I didn't know it was going to be that quick. I had no idea the breast looked like that, all of that. So I have had people who have attended. I've had people who attended, found out they had cell changes and got treatment. And it's like, thank you so much. You basically saved my life, because if I hadn't been tested, I wouldn't have known I had the abnormal cells. It probably would have progressed to cancer. And, it's those kind of little things. So with regards to YouTube videos, I do script because they're longer form, and I think that was the other thing that led to my delay. I just thought, oh, it's gonna be longer, so I need to make sure that all the information that I'm talking about is obviously up to date. Everything is always that's always the case, but when you're filming shorter videos, it's not quite like that. So yeah, getting the script together and all of that. So I usually get a lot of my ideas as well from, for instance, if I know that there's an awareness week coming or awareness month, then I'm like, okay, I'll try and create videos specific to those conditions. But also, I have a lot of family members, and as I've just said, the reason I started this in the first place was because of the conversation I had with my aunt. So I have a lot of family members who are asking me questions. They don't believe me, they don't take my advice, but they still come to me and ask me questions. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do a post on that. Like, there was a heavy, one of my relatives came to me like, oh, my periods are really heavy, but they've always been that way. But guess what? I'm so anemic. Like, my doctor just found out that my hemoglobin, it was only 5. That's how bad it was. Or 50, depending on what units you use. And I was like, this is bad. How did you not know that? I mean, how heavy are your periods? And we spoke about it, and I was like, why didn't you get this checked? And it was the same thing of, well, it's always been like that, so I thought that was normal. So because of that, I did a YouTube video on heavy periods, and it's that kind of thing. you know a lot of people don't know what they don't know. So that, I guess, that's my process. So I've just spoken so much and I've gone all over the place. I hope that's helpful.
So from what I understand, your process is generally, you're making information that is going to help someone, and that idea could come from someone that you know in real life, and then the knock-on effect is that other people also share that kind of health problem or issue, and then you also kind of focus on making it fun with songs that we know. And I think that one of the challenges with YouTube is the copyright. So if you do want to use songs that are very popular, then you might not be able to, as you might need a license to do that. So I think that's one of the kind of advantages of being on somewhere like TikTok or Instagram, where they handle that kind of licenses, those kind of licenses, whereas YouTube kind of puts the onus on you as the creator. But most music artists might, opt in to YouTube to say, okay, we're okay with the video being used.
Yeah, I've
Sorry,
been
the
very
music being
fortunate
used.
that most of them are in the library, so it's been
Yeah.
okay for the shorts anyway. They were all in the library, so it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where you tend to find them. So for the audience who's not familiar, that there are libraries of music on different platforms where you can select music that the platform allows you to use. And YouTube doesn't have a library with common culture or popular songs, whereas TikTok and Instagram do. So I think that's why a lot of short form content tends to be more catchy, easier to create, because you're not so limited, I guess. And then you mentioned on YouTube that you tend to script, and but scripting and the idea in your head, it all has to come together to create video, and it's great that you touched on the impacts as well. So people coming in um, into your, comment section or direct messages saying, thank you so much. I went for it. It wasn't that bad with the cervical screening. So do you want to talk about any other videos that you've created and what impact those have had?
Yeah, of course. So there's so many. But a more recent story is so a family friend has been struggling with painful periods for years, and she'd gone to her GP so many times. She tried different treatment measures, but what was interesting was that she'd never been investigated. And then she watched a couple of my videos. So I do a lot on painful periods, and it was one specifically on endometriosis, and the video starts off with me asking, do you have this, do you have that, basically listing the symptoms of endometriosis. And it struck her because it was like, well, wait, I have all of these symptoms, that's crazy. And then it was talking about what endometriosis is, and please get checked out if you have it. Unfortunately, we still have that narrative of, periods are supposed to be painful, and it's just a plight that you have as a woman, once a month. And also, the more painful it is, the stronger you are as a woman. Don't complain, and it runs in the family, that kind of thing. We still hold this narrative, which unfortunately is causing so many to suffer and suffer in silence, and causing debilitating symptoms, stopping them from living their lives when they're on their period. That's not normal. Anybody watching it, that's not normal. I know you're not watching it specifically for that, but just in case, because you never know. It's always people who just picked up a conversation are like, oh, I didn't consider that. Anyways, so she finally plucked up the courage to say, can you please investigate me? And she's recently had an ultrasound scan, and there are endometriosis type changes on the scan. So now she's being referred to a gynecologist. And it was just that message she sent me, like, thank you so much. If it wasn't for your video, I would not have even known about endometriosis, and I just would not have even had the courage to advocate for myself. And for me, that I think when we get into this content creation space, sometimes things can start to get a bit foggy. I know my why for creating videos is genuinely to just get the information out there for everybody to access it, because I don't want anyone suffering in silence. I don't want anybody continuing to experience pain or discomfort or whatever symptoms that they're going through. I don't want anybody to be dismissed. I want people to have the courage to advocate for themselves. I also want people to not get diagnosed with conditions, but if they do, I would love for them to be diagnosed early, where we know that treatment is more likely to be curative, less invasive, and more successful. So that is my why. However, when you get into this space, sometimes you get distracted by, analytics and numbers and following and all of that. But, the biggest reward in this space is messages like that, for me anyways. It just reminds me, this is it. This is why we're doing this. And then I mean, talking about another video I did, it was on just symptoms associated with wound cancer, and it was again someone I know who watched it and didn't realize, oh my God, so bleeding after menopause is not normal. And when you say bleeding, it's pink, even pink discharge. So she got checked out. Thankfully, everything is fine. And, but it's just that awareness that people just don't have. And that's why I always say that same phrase, you don't know what you don't know. And that's why the information is out there. So yeah, loads of DMs, loads of messages, loads of comments, from people who've said similar things of, I had no idea, thank you. Or, because of you, I've been diagnosed early. That makes that just, it's amazing. Like, obviously as a GP, I am directly impacting my patients on a one-on-one basis, which I love, and I'll never give that up, because I still really love that aspect of my life and my job. But I think being able to reach millions of people, because I've had some of my reels, reach millions of people I don't know, and potentially impact, change, save their lives. I can't even describe the feeling.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you touched on what your kind of measures of success are, because we were talking about that at the YouTube community event the other day, where you have to define for yourself what's going to keep you going at the end of the day. And I think there is a bit of conflict in terms of, you want to create videos so that you're having impact and you're getting those messages that say, thank you for helping me. But then also, you sometimes you feel like you're creating a lot of stuff in your own time that you're not necessarily getting paid to do. And people feel like, oh, well, if nobody's watching, then why am I creating it? But the thing is that when you create lots of stuff in public, you will get noticed. It's like inevitable. And you are a healthcare professional at the end of the day. So you're going to create an audience in front of you. Even if you just get 10 views and all 10 people go to get a cervical screening, I think that you did great. So try not to chase those big numbers.
Yeah.
So, what are your kind of top tips for health creators who want to get started?
Okay, so top tips. I guess my very first tip would be just start. You'd be surprised. It doesn't have to be perfect. We started the conversation, or I don't know if you clicked record yet, but I was just saying that perfectionism isn't real. It's something that a lot of us strive for, but actually, be yourself, be your true, authentic self, and just get on with it. Get out of your head and just do it. Right. And just like you said, with regards to numbers, even if it is just 10 people, that's 10 whole lives that you are positively, potentially impacting. So just remember that aspect. Don't get sucked in. Definitely know why you've started it and always revisit that. So you don't get distracted, because distractions are everywhere. You don't have to have the best equipment to start off with either. The great thing about recent phones, the camera quality is amazing. The microphone as well is suitable. So just start in that way. So that's the first one. Just start. The second one would be reach out. So obviously, I've been very fortunate to work with loads of different organizations and so on. But I have reached out. Opportunities do come, and a lot of them are coming now. Thankfully, I'm really grateful to God for that. But I did reach out in the initial stages because who knows who you are, and I knew that I wanted my content to be visible to enough people, right? That's why we're doing it, because we do want people to see it, right? And so I reached out. Like, for instance, I did reach out to NHS. I sent a DM. I was just like, oh, let me just see what happens. And then that's how I got connected to Nicola, and then we built a relationship that way. And then if we're talking specifically about YouTube, I was very fortunate to be invited through Nicola to the very first YouTube health event. And this is going back the top of last year. And through that, Vishal was there and so on. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to send him an email. And I did, and then through that, again, relationship is built, and consistency, that would be the next one. So yeah, nobody's bigger than you think they are, and nobody is insurmountable to reach. Just remember that. And also, everyone always started at some point, and a lot of us want to pay it forward. So and I did say this earlier in the conversation before you press record. Like, a lot of the times where I say yes and I utilize my time genuinely, it's because I want to pay it forward, because people gave me that opportunity as well. So don't be afraid to reach out and to ask. And literally, the worst thing that you're going to get is no. Maybe silence, which is the same as no. But okay, if they are silent, it's not. Don't always assume it's because it's a no. It may just be that they didn't see the message. So sometimes, there's no harm in sending another follow up message, just in case they then come across it and like, oh shoot, I missed this. So yeah, don't block your own opportunities by not even attempting to reach out. Reach out. You would be so surprised and amazed about the connections and the friendships that you can make and that you can learn from. So I would say that. Don't just reach out to ask for things. Like, actually reach out to build some sort of connection, which is what, like I said, I did with the others. And then, like I say, through that, it's built a friendship. It's a friendship as well as a working relationship. The other thing I would say is consistency. So try your best to be consistent, and do what works, what fits in well with your lifestyle. Like, I mean, I think a lot of us get excited and we're like, oh, I'm going to post every day, I'm going to post every couple of days, or 4 times a week or whatever. If you think that you can definitely continue at that pace, by all means, but just do something that realistically will work. So if you set in your mind, I'm going to post at least once a week, then as long as you do once a week, that's fine. But then if you want to post 2 or 3 times in certain weeks, that's absolutely fine. But just set that goal as at least once a week. That is probably more realistic than 4 times a week, especially if you have a lot of other things going on, which many of us do. So that would be the other one. So yeah, reach out. Always start, reach out, consistency, and yeah, just believe in yourself, I would say. The other thing to quickly mention is things that you think that everybody knows, that's not true, right? Just if you think, oh, someone probably has heard of this, just you'd be surprised about the lack of health literacy that is out there. So just do it, just post about it, and also if it's another video, at least you're supplementing it. Um, there was one more quick thing I was going to say. Oh yes, and keep, if there's something that you're really passionate about, definitely keep talking about it, because I remember this quote that really sticks in my mind. Someone mentioned, and it is, if you say something for the millionth time, it might be the first time that someone's heard it. It might be the first time that someone's actually paid attention to it. So sometimes I feel like, oh, I keep saying the same thing because I'm all about women's health education. I'm always carrying around I didn't bring it with me. It's usually next to me, but my crochet vulva, and I feel like, oh my, is it overused? Am I overdoing it? But every single time I do it at an event, someone comes up to me and says, "Oh my God, I didn't consider that." Or wow, that's such an important thing that you just mentioned, and actually showcasing the crochet vulva. So you might think it's repetitive. It could potentially be the first time someone's actually listened and heard it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you stand for something and you are actually just really, you know, repeating yourself, but in a way that you're always kind of reinventing what you're saying, but it's always the same message.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the kind of creativity part comes into it as well. So, that's how a great kind of message comes through. When you are about that thing, people will come to you for that thing. They will learn from you about it. And it's important for you to stick to that message, because I find that sometimes people will just do so many different things, but then people don't know what you're about. So what is the key thing you're trying to get across, and how many kind of videos are you going to dedicate to that, before you try something new? So I think it's a good idea in terms of a strategy to repeat yourself, to stick to
Yeah.
something.
And like you said, just be authentic. I think people can really see when you're doing it for clicks or for fame.
Yeah.
People can see it. I mean, you'll be doing really well for maybe a couple of minutes or a minute. You know what I mean? Like, if we talk about in the grand scheme of things, you'll have your 15 minutes, but people can usually tell. Be your true, authentic self and really, truly believe in your message. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also you're building yourself a platform for other people to stand on as well, because when you are that person that is, all about gynecological health, people know, okay, let's get Aziza to talk about it because she knows what she's talking about. She's been talking about it for 4 years. So, you get known as that person kind of outside of your expertise, because I think one of the things in healthcare is that you'll be doing a great job at work, but nobody will see that work. So when you start kind of bringing your work into a public platform, then that's how you build that authority in that space, and then you can have impact outside of work.
Mm.
So you're doing like a public service at
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that's what some people forget. When you're a health content creator, you're essentially, you are doing public health awareness. It is a
Yeah.
public health awareness. It is a big responsibility, and that's why, yeah, the research is important. Making sure that it's evidence based, making sure that it's scientifically accurate. I mean, a lot of us obviously have also started online. I didn't say this earlier, but we are here to try and tackle the plethora of health misinformation that is out there that unfortunately is very clickbait and always goes viral. So yeah, we're just it helps. It helps
Yeah.
us being here. So it's a lot of work, is what I wanted to also add, because sometimes I think people really underestimate all of the work that gets involved. You have to love what you're doing. You have to enjoy it. Otherwise, it will feel like work. I know the really cheesy saying that not everybody agrees with, but I saw it when I was 13 and I live by it. You know, you find a job that you love and you're never going to work a day in your life. If it feels like work and you hate it and you don't enjoy it, you're not going to progress in this content creation space. You need to enjoy it. Yeah, you need to really, really care. It helps.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, really caring and putting in the work is just gonna help you go so far with all of your health education videos. And I think that, if people are learning the skills to create videos, then you can do it too. But the thing that you have that they don't have is you have the healthcare expertise, you have the empathy, you
Yeah.
have the authority to actually talk in a truthful way
Yeah.
about what you have to share. Because one of the frustrations that I find is that if someone is convincing enough on video and they dress in a certain way, they have a really professional video, and they kind of tell you something that is a lie, but you believe it because it's a video and they have a professional crew and all of this stuff. And then, all they're after is like a sale. So if they're trying to sell you something, then that's an immediate red flag for me. So,
Yeah. I could not agree more. 100%. There are not many health content creators, like actually professional, so clinician creators who will do that, because we have our GMC license. We can't, or any what you call overlooking bodies. I mean, for in the pharmacy, what's yours called?
it's a regulatory body. So, like the GPHC, the ABPI, the
Yeah.
PMCPA, the MHRA. Who
Mhm.
doesn't govern us? I mean, when it comes to drugs, it's a very, very like, put one foot wrong and you're in hot water. So, yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, if they're selling you something, just question what's happening there, whether it's a
yeah,
or not. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, thank you so much for your time today, Aziza.
No, thank you so much, Virginia, for having me. It was interesting because, you don't really have these conversations that often. So a lot of what you were asking me, again, they were very off the bat. So that's why they were kind of like, what is this and that, this. But that's the reality of me as a health content creator. I have a process, but it's not that stringent, and that's okay. Okay, so anybody who's watching this and thinks, "Oh my God, to be a health content creator, I have to be super organized and I have to have all these steps that I have to follow." No, it's okay. You can be like me, and you can still get the work done as well. You might be a little chaotic, but you can still get the work done as well. So yeah, you don't have to be perfect.
Yeah, I'll include that clip in the outtakes that's coming up. So, because I did start recording, so you'll be glad to hear. So thank you so much to the audience for watching or listening today, and I hope that you learned a lot from Dr. Aziza Sesay. And I'll include all of the links so you can go and check out her stuff and connect with her on LinkedIn, check out her Instagram, her YouTube, and also her TikTok. So thank you so much, and we'll see you at the next episode.
Oh,
Bye.
really quickly before you say
Yeah,
goodbye,
yeah,
I just
yeah.
wanted to say, Virginia, I think what you're doing is incredible, and keep shining. It's great. Thank you so much for all of the free information that you put out there. It is not going unnoticed. You're definitely a shining star. So keep doing what you're doing. It's really appreciated, honestly.
Thank you so much. I think what drives me is building a community because you can have way more impact as a community than you can as a single person. So if I provide that information, it just empowers more people to get into it, then I serve my purpose. So
Collaboration. Love it. Agree.
yeah, collaboration for the win. And yeah, thank you for taking the time to share your kind of insights and experience.
My pleasure.
All right, we'll see you at the next episode. Bye.
Bye.